I have a 1970 Toyota FJ40 LandCruiser that I'm attempting to do a body off restoration on. One of my big problems is that I'm constantly breaking the 55-year-old rusted on original bolts. I've been running at about an 80% rate of breaking them off every time I try to take one out. Even though I try to douse them with PB Blaster and WD-40 and come back in the morning and douse them again before I try to unscrew the bolts. In this case, today, it isn't the broken bolts, but the windshield hinges use Phillips head bolts that may be painted a couple of years ago, but they're frozen in place. So the bolts, Phillips heads strip out. I've tried pounding the stripped bolt heads back into place with a hammer and a 3/4 inch socket extension, but no matter how many times I pound it back into place, it continues to strip out. It still leaves me in the same place as breaking off a bolt because I have to drill out the unusable portion of the bolt in either the frame or the body panels. The frame is drilled and tapped holes for the bolts, but the body panels have nuts that are welded to the body to accept the threads of the bolt. I'm still in the process of taking off body panels. So although it's been very disappointing to have so many rusted bolts break, I haven't really been too worried about the problem of how to get rid of the remaining bolt pieces that are still inside the nuts welded to the body panels. But as I get closer to needing to reinstall body parts, I need to figure out the best way to remove the broken bolts. I'm sure lots of you have had this experience before me, and I know anyone that works on older cars has likely had this problem. So I'm just looking for your suggestions for the best way to drill out broken bolts and do as little as possible damage to the threads that are still holding the portion of the bolt that I haven't removed. If I have to damage them like I will probably do in this video, what are your suggestions for the best ways to repair them? Some of these videos are at normal speed, or some of these clips, and some of the especially more boring ones, I've speeded up to show you what I've been doing and how I'm doing it, but I don't want to make a long, boring video out of it because it'll just bore you to tears. So some of them are at 100% speed, some are at 200, and some are at 400. Anyhow, I showed you the windshield bracket after it fell off when the bolt heads were knocked off. I picked the size of drill to use to try and drill out the remaining pieces of the bolt. It was just a little bit smaller than the hole that the bolt was in because I didn't want to damage the threads as much as possible. But in this case, it left enough of the bolt that I still can't get the rest of it out. It's stuck, like it's just rusted in place. So I'm trying to use drill bits and then screwdrivers and hammers to get the portion of the bolt out that's still in there. Long story short, it wouldn't screw out. I had to use a hammer and screwdrivers to break it loose. And what was really happening is I wasn't breaking loose the bolt. It ends up I was breaking loose the nut that was welded to the body part. And so really I don't know how to fix that other than probably welding a new nut onto the body part when I go to reassemble it. I've been using pliers to try and get the remains out, but that didn't work. So I just basically had to use a screwdriver and pound on it until the bolt or the nut on the other end gave way. So again, there's just more drilling and more pounding on it with a hammer and a screwdriver until the weld hits failure. anyhow, I'd love to get your suggestions for when I reassemble the body panels, because I'm going to have to go through both the frame and the body panels because bolts are broken off in each ones. So when I go reassemble the body, I'll either have to weld a new nut on the back of the body panel in this case, or at least fill and retap on the frame. Here's a website I started for my LandCruiser rebuild, mainly so that I would have an opportunity to have something show me how to put it back in place when I'm done. Anyhow, thank you very much, and appreciate your comments. I'll leave my comments open for you to comment back with suggestions. Thank you.